Chris and Randy, I want to thank you guys for taking time out to talk about your new film, Demons at Dawn.
Good to have you.
Yeah.
Have you as well, so.
Well, thank you. I got a chance to. I haven't had the chance to drop my review yet tonight, but we'll just start off right away. I'll just give you a little spoiler. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Good.
I enjoy indie films quite a bit. Have been covering them for years, and I always like watching independent films from other countries to see what what ideas and such come up, and the kind of different approach to micro budget cinema. And I really liked what you did with what you had here at Demons at Dawn. Where did this idea come from initially? I guess we'd start with Chris. He's the writer, so
that's my doing. I'm responsible. I guess I always wanted to. I love sort of those films that sort of take a twist halfway through. So, like from Dusk Till Dawn, for example, starts out like a traditional sort of thriller, and then you have the whole vampire twist. And with Demons at Dawn, obviously we've got a hitman who's he's fallen heavily into debt, and he's being blackmailed by the criminal gang in Los Angeles. He owes them a lot of money, so they sort of blackmail him into taking one last job in the UK, and that's how the story starts out. It's like a traditional sort of thriller, and then obviously halfway through, it becomes like a siege movie with demons. So yeah, that was the idea I had, and I just sort of went with that when I was writing the script. So
it is a fun script. And Randy, what was it about the script that appealed to you?
Well, I think the fact that it is a little different, and it's kind of a throwback, as Chris had mentioned, like The Wicker Man and things like that, like old school kind of. There's kind of folk horror films from the UK, from overseas that I like and that are really cool, and also just a chance to go to England and shoot in the middle of the English countryside, which is something I've never done. I've kind of done stuff all over the United States and some other places outside of the country, but never in England before. So that was also a huge plus. And also the script is good. It's really good. It's a chance to kind of do something different, do something really kind of like I said, a throwback, and also just some kind of down and dirty in that sense, because where we shot, there was no internet, there was no phone service, like we were literally in the middle of the woods or in the middle of the countryside with no connection to the outside world. So that kind of lended itself to the project as well. So a lot of bonuses for doing it,
And I loved the cinematography and the locations you picked for it. How big of a challenge it was, because did you do location scouting or have someone do location scouting before you got to England, or did you start doing that once you got there?
Well, Chris had shot at the cottage that we shot. He'd shot there before, so he knew about it. So I got pictures, I said videos, and got kind of a rundown. It was really surprising when I got there how small it actually was. You see it on video, it seems bigger than it actually, and then you get there, like, wow, this is pretty small and cozy. It's a great location, but that I didn't get a chance to go out there and scout. It was all done through Zoom and pictures and things like that. So,
And when you were writing this, Chris, did you have an idea for the locations? Did you have kind of the setting, since you shot at that cabin before, which I did notice was small? That stairway was impressive. You got a camera through.
Yeah.
It was quite claustrophobic, wasn't it, at some point? I had the cottage in mind already. When I'm producing the films, once I've got the location locked down, everything else falls into place in terms of like the cast and the crewing and getting the catering and the accommodation, everything else sorted out. So it was a big weight off my mind knowing I had that location available. The guy who actually owns the cottage is one of the actors in the film as well.
Oh, okay. So that helps.
And he's really good. Yeah. So a guy called Jimmy, really good guy. It was good fun. So I knew exactly what I had to work with in terms of the script and all the rooms, all the little nooks and crannies, and and of course with independent film as well, if you've got like beautiful countryside, you can take full advantage of that because it's completely free. So obviously we use that in the script and try to make best use of that.
One of the shots I really like is early on was it was a hill ridge where it's a really wide shot
when the guy first arrives.
When the guy first arrives, it was
all of
really
that was kind of all of that was sort of spontaneous. I mean, I had an idea of, getting on that hill and shooting, but like the sheep and things like that were just all kind of spontaneous. I mean, one morning the DP just took his camera out and they just shot a bunch of establishing shots and a bunch of wood shots, before we got there. So
it was a great shot. We've got obviously on top of that hill, and then you look down, you can see the cottage in the distance and the woodland behind it. And it was a great position for the hitman to arrive, seen for the first time, really, at the rural location. So yeah, really well. Randy's vision was very strong, and it's good. Did a great job.
Now, how much pre-production did you do on this, Randy, for planning? Now, obviously, you're traveling, so you want to make sure you kind of had some ducks in a row, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, a lot of the pre-production was done here in LA for me. Just talking with the cast and the crew and things like that, and doing. I mean, I'm very detail oriented as far as my shot list, so it's really a lot of it was just me sitting down with a script and just making as detailed a shot list as I can, so I know exactly what I want to do. So, because we didn't have a lot of time. I think we shot this in 7 days, or well, the cottage stuff I think was 7 days. I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then we had a couple of days at the studio in Leicester.
Yeah.
And a day in Burbank.
That's 2 days. Well, no, 2 days. Yeah, 2 days at the studio in Burbank. Yeah, for the jail stuff and bar stuff. But yeah, but as far as the England stuff, yeah, I knew that we were going to be, you have to shoot this in a tight schedule, so I wanted to be as prepared as I could on my end. And then, of course, getting to England and getting there, getting over jet lag, kind of getting my bearings in order, in order to be kind of at 100% when we shot. So that was important as well. So I usually go out there a week or so before, just so I can kind of get acclimated to the surroundings and, get over the jet lag. So yeah, there was a lot of ducks that I had to get in a row just to kind of be prepared for it. And also just, meetings with the DP, just kind of going over the vision and knowing that, we're going to have limited equipment and stuff like that, just kind of figuring out how we want to shoot it and what's the best approach, and ultimately we just chose to let the house be the house and the character and kind of shoot it as is, kind of. There's some lighting, there's obviously lighting supplemental, but for the most part we kind of wanted to keep it a lot more natural, just to kind of get that feel for it.
Yeah, the cabin definitely has its own character quite a bit, and I like that. But I'm in the middle of Wisconsin. Well, I grew up in Milwaukee, the big city, but in the middle of Wisconsin, we have lots of small farmhouses in that as well, and it felt a lot like that. So
yeah.
So I did get that claustrophobic feeling, because I've been in a few of those houses where those hallways are literally one person. Like you can only do one person.
Yeah. So that's how we had to shoot it too. It's like when they're going up and down the stairs, like the DP is going by either behind him or in front of them going up and down the stairs, and everyone else had to clear the area so you don't get seen on film. And even the sound guy couldn't even be on there. So yeah, it was very tight.
Well, it turned out well, though. It looks great on on screen as well. So I mean, you captured it well, that they were felt trapped, and made the characters really feel trapped in there the whole time. Even when you're in the bigger living room kitchen area. So with this, Chris, you got to not only write but be in front of the camera a bit too. You got to play a fun character. Did you write that character for you, or was it?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, I just thought, let's make him really evil, really bad, and those are the roles that are the most fun to play. So I had that entrance where I walked through the door and the smoke, and this is going to be fun. I really enjoyed that, and Randy got that spot on. And we got really lucky with the actors as well. They did a great job, all of them. Yeah. Everyone got along really well, and it was a really, really cool experience all around. Yeah.
Did you have people in mind that you already wanted to work with when you were writing it?
Yeah, because I spend a lot of time doing the casting for my other films as well, and then I go through all the show reels. So what happens is people stand out. They stay in your memory. So when I was writing the script, there was Ben Silver, the guy who played Mickey. So I remembered him from one of the shows I watched, and I thought, yeah, he'd be great in this role. So I got in touch with him, and he was free, and yeah, we did it. And then we had a relative newcomer called Amanda.
Mhm.
Hemsworth, who played the one of the female leads. She was fantastic. She was great. So we got really lucky with the actors. They were really good to work with. Yeah.
Randy, was there anyone that you wanted to work with that you also had a say in pulling in, or
No, I mean, Chris had kind of cast everybody.
Mhm.
And I all his choices were spot on. They were all great. So no, I was happy with all the choices. Like you mentioned, Amanda
Mhm.
and Amber
Yeah.
and Dan and even we're talking about Jimmy,
Mhm.
who played Samuel, the husband. He was awesome too. So yeah, no, the cast was great. And then having to work, being able to work with John Altman as well,
Mhm.
who I being over here wasn't 100% familiar with, obviously, but everyone loved John Altman. I guess Nasty Nick, is that's what it's from EastEnders? Is that what? So
Yeah, we have a show over here in the UK called EastEnders, and
Yep.
yeah,
everyone knows. Like, he played a
everyone knows
character
him.
called Nasty Nick Cotton, and everyone in the UK sort of knows him. Not
So that
so
was
much
kind of
also in the States, but yeah.
yeah. So that was fun working with Big Star in the UK.
He played the part well, which I really enjoyed. The cast you had in here, it was a large variety of different folks, you could tell, and but everybody seemed to play off each other well and really had a
Yeah,
chemistry and had the same idea of what type of film you were making. Because I imagine that's a challenge sometimes. You get the group together and somebody in their own film that's different than
yeah, yeah. They're playing. Yeah, they feel like they're in two different movies. Yeah, yeah. I've
yeah.
been there before. Yeah.
But
Luckily, like for the Burbank stuff, which is the jail, the prison stuff, and the bar and the morgue, the bookend scenes, those were all shot here in Burbank,
mm,
and a lot of those actors have worked together before, so that helps as well. They do Chris's projects all the time, so yeah, most of them knew each other. They worked together before, so it was really easy to just kind of jump in, and they all just kind of went in and had fun with it. And I'd worked with a few of them also before, so we all kind of knew each other, so that helped as well. Having people who just kind of game to just jump in and go with it. So
and it comes across on screen too. You can always not that I'm a huge expert, but I watched many films, and
yeah,
you could tell when you could kind of tell when the whole cast and crew are gelled and just playing off each other, because everybody seems like they're having fun. You all seemed like you were having fun
yeah,
in there. Like I said, especially when Chris showed up as the character he does. It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
That was yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. My little 10-minute cameo there. So
It completely throws everyone for a loop too, which is great.
yeah.
Well, I don't want. I guess I'm not really giving this away, but
Mhm.
yeah, when he comes in, it's kind of
Yeah.
throws everything.
I
Feels,
always
you know,
I always liked stories like that. Chris has mentioned, from Dusk Till Dawn, and that, to where you have kind of a bad guy who's kind of good but a bit charismatic, and then he's thrown into a worse situation with even worse bad guys,
yeah,
and suddenly they don't look so good. But
yeah,
what I really enjoyed was the fact we start off with one set of characters, and you think that person's going to be the focus,
mhm.
but it's not. It ends up being someone completely different.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's good. That keeps you on their toes. But in the end, they all are related. And
Mhm.
as far as in the human trafficking world, they're all together in that sense. But yeah, no, I like that aspect too. That they kind of just it definitely keeps you on your toes, and that's great.
It does keep you on your toes. Now there is some humor worked in here, just a
Mhm.
little.
absolutely.
How tough was that, Randy, especially directing to allow the humor, like the steak gimmick? I love the steak line about the guy needing to go back to finish his steak. Working that humor in, but yet still keeping the tension and the tone.
Well, I mean, it goes with it goes into the script, but
Mhm.
also, again, those actors, they're good at comedy. I've done comedy for many, many years, so
Mhm.
that's kind of a natural thing for me to. But I think that was kind of the idea for those bookend scenes, is to have is that's what brings the humor, because I knew that
Mhm.
once we got to the cottage, once we got to England, that it was just going to be nonstop kind of tension and creepiness and blah blah blah. So you need that, you know, you need that comic relief. You need that
Mhm.
little bit of lightness, you know, to go along with it, just to kind of wink at the audience and realize, okay,
Mhm.
let's have, you know, this is a fun project. Let's, you know, let's have fun with it, you know. So that's kind of the approach that I have with it,
Now,
you know.
yeah, and it comes across well because it's fitting, especially for your trio of people who are in the cafe and then who end up showing up at the end. They are
Yeah,
definitely different than the other
yeah,
characters.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, Chris, what was that your intention too, just to have that humor kind of written in the script a bit to break it up a little bit, so it's not like
Yeah, just to give it a little bit of
Mhm.
light relief from, because obviously 90% of the movie is pretty, it's full on creepy, and yeah. So to have it, I wanted to write the script so it started in Los Angeles and ended.
Mhm.
So we had
Right,
that nice little bookend. So obviously it starts out with the human traffickers, the main gang, and they're effectively retelling what happened in the UK, and
right.
that's how it all ties together. So it's all linked that way. And but I wanted to make it a little bit lighthearted in the beginning, just to get the audience on our side, and you know,
Yeah.
before we send them into creepiness.
Yeah, speaking of creepiness, the special effects you have in here, I was very happy to see the practical, because you know, with smaller budget indie films, a lot have gone almost completely digital, and you know, I completely understand, and you do have some in here, but also the practical effects. How long did it take to get those demon looks?
Well, go
Well,
ahead.
Oh,
I mean, the demon. Well, it is, you know, to give some away. It is it is a combination of practical
mhm,
and some CG enhancements. You know, just to
right.
kind of, they are masks, and you know, wanted to kind of give them not so mask like. But yeah, I actually enjoy doing practical effects, but a lot of times on budgets you just can't. They're just
Mhm,
too expensive. They're way too time consuming, so you have to go in and do digital stuff. So I completely understand why people do that. But I think the practicality of what we have works for kind of the film that we wanted to create, to make it practical. It would not work if it was all CG,
right.
you know, digital stuff and digital heads and things like that. It's just like it would not be the same movie. It wouldn't give the same feel we were going
Mhm.
for, you know. So, but again, I enjoy doing as much as I possibly can on the horror stuff that I do. I'm doing practical effects because it always comes out better. You know, it always looks better to me.
Well, especially when you're shooting in a small location like that, you've got a lot of closer up shots of the
Mhm.
demons. And if you digital that, that's just gonna, that
Mhm.
it just doesn't quite look right. Even if you're using masks. I like the masks. The masks, the demonic look took me back to my late 80s, early 90s horror, in all
Yeah, my
honesty.
favorite too. Yeah, yeah. So that's what we're going
Where,
for.
where did you find the masks? Did you create them, or you
had
know,
them made. Yeah, there's a company in the States. They do bespoke work.
mhm,
So they're silicone, like professional film
sure.
masks. But we wanted to make them bespoke, so I had to order them like months in advance. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of work involved in that as well. But they're quite fun, you know. And I just wanted to, you know, obviously it's a serious film, but at the same time, we wanted to have fun. I wanted the audience to know that, you know, we're having a good time as well. And yeah.
Which I think is important, especially for indie films, or the stories that you have, that you're having fun. I think some folks forget that they want to make the most extreme horror sometimes, and you're just like, I want to have fun sometimes. I don't want martyrs to where by the end of it I feel like I've been beaten.
Yeah, yeah, beaten over the head, literally and figuratively. Yeah, by the end of it. Yeah.
But yeah, you managed to have a nice balance of here of the creepy and the you know, the fun, and yet you know, tension filled ideas and a lot of twists as well. You know, Randy, for directing, does a lot go into deciding how much to show and how much not to show when you're working, especially on a budget and a time frame? I imagine some of that has to determine it. But when you're making the directorial decisions, you know, how much does that work for you, to where like, well, maybe we don't show as much of the demons, just give them a glimpse?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. It's like, you know, because they are masks and stuff, you don't want to show too much of the creases, I guess, you know, because it'll take people out of the film. So I think just yeah, finding that happy balance. I mean, we did shoot a lot of it, and just it was really more. A lot of it came down into the editing decisions and
Mhm.
kind of the color correction to kind of darken things a little bit, and adding little enhancements to the masks and things like that, just so you don't show as much. But yeah, it was more just a practical, budgetary time constraint thing, is to not show so much. Like there's only one scene that there's no blood or anything in this
Right.
film, which is good. Um, but yeah, no, I think from the offset, yeah, it was a decision not to show that much, because that's like you mentioned, the horror films of the 70s and 80s, they hardly ever showed any. I mean, look at Halloween and things like that. They don't really show anything, and it's just as creepy. So I tend to like that. So because
Yeah, sometimes
I've done huge blood and guts things before, and
Mm.
there's the place for that, but for this
yeah.
one, it just didn't lend itself to show that much.
Mm.
Keep it more about the characters and
Mm.
what they're feeling. That's why there's a lot of close-ups and stuff like that. So we kind of are inside the characters and how they're feeling more than anything else. Just so the audience is more engaged in that and them.
So, Chris, did you want to keep it a bit restrained with horror, or did you want to do gory?
Yeah, sometimes I think with these sort of films, less is definitely more.
Mhm.
I think if you show too much, it doesn't work.
Mhm.
So like I say, less is more. You leave it to the imagination of the viewer, and we tried to focus on the characters and the creepiness and building that tension that way. Um, that was important to me, and using the natural resources we had with the beautiful countryside and the cottage
Mhm.
and that claustrophobic feel. So yeah, that's sort of the route that we chose to go down. Yeah.
So, with the film and the approach you took, was this also put up for crowdfunding, or were you able?
Yeah,
Did
I
you put?
crowdfund all my
Mhm.
movies. Yeah, I started out like with short films about 7 years ago. I think I raised about £800 in the first crowdfund. Now
Mhm.
I'm raising like 60, 70 grand in 4 weeks. So that means it's all pretty much soft money. So I have complete control over what I want to write, and I don't have to answer to anybody. And then we can go through either a traditional distribution company, or we can go down the self distribution route. And that's the way I've been doing it. Yeah, I just wanted to write my own scripts and control the finances and control the casting and locations, and then I can just hire people who I trust and build that team. And yeah, it's taken a long time, but I've found that tribe of people now. So we've got a really good post production team in Los Angeles that Randy looks after, and yeah, we just keep cracking them out now. It's great. It's good.
Well, it definitely pays off with Demons at Dawn. I appreciate it quite a bit. Love seeing the work that's put into it. Now, was this shot during COVID or before?
No, it was
No,
after. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because the very first feature I did was called Nest of Vampires,
Mm.
and we were really lucky. That was just before COVID hit.
Mhm.
So obviously that would have been a nightmare. But this one was shot after, and then we've
Okay.
got Werewolf Cabals coming out very soon, and then we just shot another one called The Haunted Studio with Bailing from Star Wars. That was
Cool.
shot in July this year. So yeah, we're averaging about 3 features
Mhm.
a year now, which is really cool. So my focus now is just to keep building that audience with the horror fans, keep crowdfunding, keep writing the scripts, and just I'm always looking to get named actors in there as well.
Sure.
So Ailing was a big. She was really cool. Yeah, she was in the original Crow movie. She played Micah.
Great. Yep. She played
Yeah, so
the
yeah, yeah,
sister.
yeah. And she was really cool to work with. Really funny.
Mhm.
And we're just looking to bring more people on going forward now as we're growing. So yeah.
That's great. And what about you, Randy? What do you got on deck coming up for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, we have Werewolf Ball and Haunted Studio, and then I'm flying out there in January to do the next one called Premium Skin for Dancing In. So it'll be a year to the day that we shot
Yeah.
Demons. We shot Demons earlier
Same date, isn't it? Really, January. So.
January 19th, the exact same day.
Yeah.
Demons of Dawn this past year. So, and then I have a TV show that I'm working on with a partner of mine. I'm actually leaving to go to a festival now for it, and I'm at AFM this week with a couple of projects, and we have some screenings going on. And then I have a film I did in India that's coming out this year. So a lot of kind of little things here and there coming out this year and next year as well.
And Randy, oh, you got a favorite horror movie? Always a hard question, right?
Not a hard question at all.
So many.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like,
Oh,
Good choice. Yeah.
yeah.
that is one of that's on my top as well. Is that one? I have about 4 different copies of that movie.
Oh, do you? Wow, I have a few copies. Wow, you beat me. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the original steel book that they released that offers it either in the remastered audio or the actual mono. And then I've got 2 of the 40th anniversary editions, and I got one
Right.
other one.
Nice. Oh, good for you. Well, you're in Wisconsin. Have you seen the house? Have you been to the house in Texas?
Oh, I have not been to the house in Texas, but I live half an hour away from Mr. Ed Gein, who was the
Oh,
infamous.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good claim to fame. Right? Well, yeah.
And they still don't talk about it in the city. They don't. That is a subject. In fact, I talked to a director, Dan Davies, who did Ed Gein the musical. And
I didn't know it's the musical version. That's
yeah, well, his dad was friends with the sheriff who did the arresting of Ed Gein.
oh, wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a film itself.
Separation, yeah. Wow.
So yeah, so Ed Gein is that's why I think that's why I like Psycho as well. Just the connection is there as well.
Right.
What about you, Chris? You got a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Hammer horror films with Peter
Yeah.
Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Mhm.
But my favorite, for purely sentimental reasons, it was one of the first horror films I ever saw. Was called The Ghoul with Peter Cushing.
Mhm.
So that's a Tyburn production, like the sister company to the old Hammer horror films. And that had Peter Cushing, Veronica Carlson, and the first film role for John Hurt.
Oh, wow.
And it has all the ingredients of like a classic British horror. It's got the Edwardian manor house in the middle of like this rolling moorland. So yeah, it's just a beautiful film. So go and check that out if you have time.
Yeah, I will. I think I may have watched it once. My buddy is a big Hammer horror fan, and he introduced me to Hammer horror, and I just love the visuals and everything of those classic Hammer horror films, Cushing and oh, it blew away in my head now. But there's stable of actors that would always show up.
Yeah.
And the settings and everything are wonderful and inspiring. So, and they're too, they were working on smaller budgets, so they had to limit it. So they were kind of almost an indie approach to where they had to make the most of what they had. So and you folks definitely made the most of what you had with Demons at Dawn, and yeah, I dig it. And it's always fun watching the indie horror from especially produced and made in another country, and seeing similarities to the approach, and then also differences of what you're able to do with what small budgets or a small cast or small time frames. So I guess last thing is Randy, is there a place where they can keep up with your stuff? What you're doing with projects, website, or social media?
Yeah, just my website, randykent.com. It's pretty much, I'm not much on social media. I have a Facebook page. I have a few Facebook pages. I don't know how that happened, but and I have no idea how to merge them. I don't know anything. I don't know how to do any of that. But yeah, Facebook and my website and IMDb are about my only social media. And well, I have a YouTube page and Vimeo. But yeah, that's where you can keep up.
There's nothing wrong with limited social media. I'm in too many places.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had that social media game. Chris has a really good social media game. It just kind of, I'm a little older, so it just kind of passed by me, and it's just like I feel like I've kind of passed that, you know what I mean? So I can't go backwards, and I don't know, just old school, I guess. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with old school. I enjoy it sometimes. Like I said, I almost wish I wasn't on social media as much.
No, but it is a good place to keep up with the world. But yeah.
Well, and nowadays to make connections and such and get buzz about your film, like we're doing today, hopefully, exactly. It is a necessary evil at times.
No, it totally is. I only use it mostly for promotion and things like that,
And what about you, Chris, as well? Where can people find keep up to date with your stuff and your production company and such?
Yeah, I've got a website, blackcoppiesfilms.com, and Instagram is Black Copies Films, and YouTube, again, Black Copies Films. You can find me, strangely enough. Yeah, so just type Black Copies Films anywhere, any platform, I'll probably come up somewhere. say hello. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, gentlemen, for taking this time. This has been a pleasure as always to talk
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
talk to you. So yeah, check it out, folks. Demons at Dawn. That is out. Is that out now or is that out next month?
It's been probably next month. It's been delivered to Amazon, Roku, Tubi, so all the major V.O.D platforms. It'll be out pretty soon. Yeah.
That's right. I think it's November 4th or 8th. I forgot what the press may have said, but I'll have to look. I'll put information on the body of the webpage for this podcast and that. So
cheers, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And yeah, folks, check it out.